Hello friends, welcome to my channel. This is Charan. In this video tutorial, I will explain how to insert selected drop-down list value into a SQL Server database in ASP.NET Core Blazor application using Blazor components. Now let's check the final output again. DDL insert. I'm selecting the sport name running. Now before insert the record, let's check in our database. Right now we have only one sport name volleyball. Let's execute again. So we have only one volleyball. Insert. Let's check this running. See here the running, the sports name running is added successfully into this table. Now let's select cricket, insert. Execute the table, cricket is inserted. Let's select one more, tennis, insert. Check in the table also, tennis is inserted successfully. If you are a first time visitor to my channel, please subscribe to get the latest updates. Before creating a new ASP.NET Core Blazor application, first we'll create a new table in SQL Server Management Studio. I just logged into my SQL Server Management Studio. Let me expand this root folder as well as the databases folder. Notice in this databases, there is a Charan database. I want to create a new table in this database. First, let me expand this folder. In the tables folder, let me expand this tables folder also. Now let's create a new table in this Charan database. Select the Charan database, right click the mouse, new query. And the query is create table. I'm adding sports table. Let's add the columns here, id, int, not null, primary key, and I'm adding the identity, which is the auto-generated column. And I'm adding the sport name, varchar 150. That's it. Let's create this table, execute the statement, and here we got a message command completed successfully. Let's refresh this tables folder. So here we got the sports table. Let's browse this table, right click the mouse, select top 1000 rows. And here we got the results of this sports table. Right now this sports table contains 0 rows. Now let's insert some values into this sports table using drop-down list in ASP.NET Core Blazor application. For this video tutorial, I'm creating a new Blazor application. So I'm selecting the Blazor app template, click next. Let's give the template name is insert drop-down list Blazor app is my project name, and I want to save this project in the location D drive Pro Core Blazor folder. Create. After that, let's select the template Blazor server app, then click create. And the project is created successfully. Let me close this default window, and notice here in the Solution Explorer there are some default files and folders, and Blazor components is added to this application. Now before writing the coding part, first we'll check the default output of this application. And here we got the output of our application, which contains this is a Blazor component and this is a layout. And also if you notice at the side panel there are some navigation links. Now my aim is first I will create one new navigation link. When a user click that link, it will open a new component. On that component I'll add one drop-down list control which contains some sports name. After that, when a user clicks the button control, the selected drop-down value is inserted into this sports table. So first let's add one new navigation link in this side panel. Switch to the coding part again. Let's stop this debugging. To add the navigation link in the Solution Explorer, come to the bottom of the project. Now notice in the shared folder, let me expand the shared folder, navmenu.razor component. Let's open that one. And here you can notice there are some default navigation links. Let's copy this list item and paste here and name this as DDL insert. And this one I'm adding DDL insert. This is a component name. After that, we'll require one new component of this DDL insert. In the pages folder, right click the pages folder, add, I'm selecting the razor component. And the component name is DDL insert. Enter. And here we got our DDL insert component model. Now, when a user clicks this DDL insert navigation link, I want to open this razor component on the browser. So, for that I'm adding one page attribute, page directory between double quotes /. I'm adding this href link DDL insert. Let's copy that one and paste between these double quotes. That's it. Now let's check the output. So notice here we got a new output. Now there is a new link here, DDL insert. Let's click that one. So here we got the DDL insert, which is this component, razor component. Stop debugging. After the DDL insert, I am adding one horizontal line. After the horizontal line, I am adding a simple select element, and this select element contains one option, select sport, and this option is a label of the select element, and this is a selected disable is equals to true. And the second option, now in this option elements I am adding some sport names, cricket, option, tennis, option, volleyball, option, running. Just for the demo purpose, I am adding only 4 option elements. And after the select element, I am adding one button control button, and the button name is insert. That's it. We just finished the designing part in this razor component. Now after designing part, now let's write the coding part to insert the records. So here I want to insert the sports names in the SQL Server database. So we require the necessary entity framework of SQL Server DDL packages. So let's install those packages first. Notice here in the project there is a dependencies folder. Let me expand this dependencies folder. Notice that in the dependencies folder there is no any packages folder. So let's install the necessary packages. Select the project name, right click the mouse, manage NetJet packages, select that one. Go to browse and search for Microsoft.Entity Framework, and here we got the results. Let's go for Microsoft.Entity Framework, and this is the package I require, so I'm selecting that one. Click install, click OK. Let's accept the license. And notice here we got a small icon here, which means this package is installed successfully into our project folder. Here we got the packages folder is added. Let me expand this folder. See here the Microsoft.Entity Framework core, the version 3.1.6 is installed. And also I require the SQL Server of this Entity Framework core, so I am selecting that one. Click install. Click OK. Accept the license, and the SQL Server package is also installed successfully. And the third one, the last one, we require the tools, because we are using Entity Framework, we require these tools. Click install, click OK. Let's accept the license. And here we got all the 3 packages just we have installed in this packages folder. Let me minimize this packages folder as well as the dependencies folder. Let's close this Nugget package window, which we don't require anymore. Let's close this one also. Now the next step, let's create one new Poco class which contains only the properties. That class I'm creating in this data folder. So select the data folder, right click the mouse, add class, and the class name is sports class. Click add, and here we got our sports class. Now let's add the components. Before that, let's add the key method. Alt enter. See, when I click Alt enter, I got some suggestions here. This method requires this system.componentModel.data annotations. So let's add that namespace. Now let's create a property. The first property is integer type. In our table we have two columns, ID and sport name. So first let's add the ID column. The property name is ID, and the second property is the string type, which is a sport name. This one, sport name. Let's copy this one, the same column name and the property name, both are same. Now after adding the sports class, next we require the DB context class. So again, I'm creating a new class in this data folder. Select the data folder, right click the mouse, add class, and the class name is application DB context. Enter, and here we got our application DB context class. Now in this application DB context class, I'm inheriting the DB context. So let's add the column DB context. The DB context class belongs to the entity framework namespace. So let's add using Microsoft.EntityFramework Pro. Now I can able to access this DB context class. After that, let's create the constructor of this class. CTOR double tab, which will create the constructor. Now in this constructor, I am adding DB context options. In this DB options, I am adding my class name, application DB context. Then add the options, column, base options. After that, I'm creating a property for my table name. That property is a DB set. So prop double tab, and the data type is a DB set type. Inside this DB set, I'm adding this class name, sports class name. So we require using insert DDL my application name dot data. This sports class is inside this data folder. So now I can access this sports class here, and the property name here is very important. Here the property name is our sports table name. So make sure this property name must be your table name. So after adding the sports class and DB context class, next we require the proper SQL connection string. So for that, let's open SQL Server Explorer. Now in the Server Explorer, notice the data connections, right click that one, add connection, and the server name is, my server name is this one, desktop hyphen PBUDEON, and the database name is a Charan database. Test connection is succeeded, okay. And notice here the Charan database is added into our Server Explorer, and also in the properties there is a connection string which contains the data source. Let's copy the data source. To add this data source, let's open the app settings.json file. Open that one. In this JSON file, connection strings colon, I'm adding a comma because it's a JSON file, my connection string name is my connection colon between double quotes. I am adding the data source which I have copied. That's it. After adding the connection string, the data source in this app settings or JSON file, next step we require the services because we are using Blazor application. Blazor application requires the services. That service contains the actual logic to insert the record. So I am adding a new folder. Select the application name, right click the mouse, add new folder. The folder name is the services. Now inside the services, I am creating a class. Right click the mouse, add class, and the class name is sports service. Sport service. And here we got our sports service class. Now first let's import my application DB context class and the sports class both in this sports service class using insert DDL my application name dot data folder. These two classes is inside the data folder. Sports class and application DB context class both are in the sports data folder. After that, let's create the read-only property protector read-only. On read-only, I'm adding my class name application DB context class. I'm creating the object DB context colon. After that, let's create the constructor of the sports service. Double tab. Now in this constructor, I'm adding the application DB context class name and the variable DB. After that, I'm adding DB context is equals to underscore DB colon. Then here my first service, I'm adding a function to insert the records. So to insert the records, I'm adding the bool type public bool insert record. Now insert this record, I'm adding my class name sports class SC. Now inside this function, I'm adding the code to insert the record underscore DB context. This variable I'm adding dot. I'm adding my table name which is the sports dot add. Inside this add method, I'm adding SC colon. Once we add the record, we need to save changes. So underscore DB context dot save changes method. Then this function return true. That's it. It's a very simple line code to insert the records. So after adding the service, next we call this service in this DDL insert treasure. First, we'll import the necessary classes here. Now first let's add the folders data at using my application name is insert DDL my application name dot data folder. So I can access this sports class and application DB context class both. After that, we require to add this service also at using insert my application name dot services. Let's inherits one component base. Inside this component base, I am adding my service name. The service name is sports service, so let's add that one, sports service. Now after that, to insert the record, we require the edit form tag. So I'm adding one edit form. Let's close this edit form tag after the button element. Now here in the code, I'm creating an object for the sports class sc is equals to sc insert is an object, new sports class. Then let's create the function called void sport insert is a method name. Inside this method name, I'm adding the service dot. Notice here when I click dot, I got the insert record, which is my service, the method name in this service. So let's add that one, the service insert record. Now in this method, I'm adding this object sc insert. That's it. Now here in the edit form, I'm adding the model is equals to this object name at sc insert and on valid submit is equals to at, I'm adding this function name sport insert. And also we need to bind the data at bind is equals to at sc insert dot sport name. Now the final step, we need to register this service in the project. Come to the bottom, startup.cs file. In the startup.cs file, come to the bottom here in the configure services. First we need to the connection service also, services.db context application db context class. In this application db context class, I'm adding the options dot use SQL server. The SQL server namespace belongs to the entity framework. Let's import the Microsoft.entity framework using Microsoft.entity framework core. Then we can get the use SQL server method. In this SQL server method, I'm adding the configuration dot get connection string method. This get connection string method takes a string parameter is our connection string name. Our connection string name is my connection. Let's copy that one and paste here in the startup.cs file. Let's close with colon. And also we need to register this service also here in the services dot add scoped method. In this I'm adding the sports service. So we need to add using my application name dot services. Now I can add the service sport service. That's it. We have done the complete coding part. It's time to check the results on the browser. And here we got the final output. Notice the DDL insert. Click that one. So once I click this DDL insert, we got a DDL insert component, the razor component. Inside this razor component, we have one drop down list and one button control. Now let's set the sport name volleyball. Now before insert this selected sport volleyball into the database, first let's check in our database table. Let's execute this statement. Right now this sports table contains 0 rows. Let's insert this selected sport name volleyball insert. See, let's check in our database. Execute. See here the volleyball is inserted successfully. Let's insert the second record cricket. Notice here when I click insert, what will happen? Insert. See here I got an error here. The Microsoft.entity framework code.db update. So identity underscore insert is set to off. So to fix this error, in the razor component, I am adding sc insert dot the ID value is 0, column, it's a 0. So make sure add this one so we don't get this error. So now let's stop debugging again, run this application. Now let's check the final output again. DDL insert, I'm selecting the sport name, running. Now before insert the record, let's check in our database. Right now we have only one sport name, volleyball. Let's execute again. So we have only one volleyball. Insert. Let's check this running. See here the running, the sports name running is added successfully into this table. Now let's select cricket, insert. Execute the table, cricket is inserted. Let's select one more, tennis, insert. Check in the table also, tennis is inserted successfully. That's it. In this tutorial I have shown how to insert the selected drop-down list value into ASP.NET Core Blazor component using Entity Framework code.